Good afternoon and welcome to this Epic Ed web conference, Encouraging and Recognizing Educators and Principals, Strategies for Leveraging Digital Learning Day. Epic Ed is an online community of practice in the Connected Educators program. The community is developed by the Digital Learning Collaborative at the Friday Institute in the College of Education at North Carolina State University, and the Consortium of School Networking. We'll be using Blackboard Collaborate today to participate in this event, and you notice there the polling features and the emoticons that you can use at any time during our session today, the whiteboard tools we'll use in just a moment, and then the chat box. We'll accept questions today via chat, so we'll ask that you place your comments as well as questions in the chat box. Feel free to share as well any additional resources or comments related to the conference this afternoon. We always like to get a sense of where our participants are joining us from this afternoon, so if you would, as indicated in this slide, double-click on the pencil icon that appears on the left side of your whiteboard and choose a different stroke size, as you see there, and maybe a different color, and place yourself on the map this afternoon. We'd like to have a sense of where our audience is coming from today. Seeing a lot going on here in the Northeast, but I know we've got some Texas joining us today. There we go. There's Texas. Okay, fantastic. Folks, we appreciate you sharing that with us this afternoon. I'm going to turn the program over now to our moderator this afternoon and one of our featured speakers who will introduce the other featured speakers on the panel. So would you join me in a virtual round of applause and welcome Dr. Marianne Wolf. Marianne?
Hi everybody, it's great to be here today, and it certainly is a pleasure to introduce to you our other speakers. I have the pleasure of knowing each of them individually and have continued to learn from them throughout my work for many years. So I'd first like to introduce Ann McMullen. She's the Executive Director of Education Technology in the Klein Independent School District, which is located outside of Houston, Texas. She leads the district team and provides professional development on technology and 21st century instructional strategies to over 4,000 educators. I have to tell you that Ann has often been the one to teach me things, and she was working in digital learning long before most of us even recognized just how important it was going to be. So welcome, Ann. I'd also like to introduce Kim Sharp, who works with Ann in Klein ISD. Kim is currently the Instructional Media Coordinator at Vistas High School. She was selected in 2007 to help launch the International Business Academy at Klein Forest High School, which is an innovative program in which students use district-issued tablet PCs to connect their education to global cultures, international economic activities, and the position of the U.S. in global business. Kim also served on the Educator Working Group for last year's Digital Learning Day, and we will draw upon that today in our discussion. Finally, I'd like to introduce you to Robin Young. Robin is a librarian in Avon High School in Avon, Indiana. She started as a classroom teacher in California and spent the next 9 years teaching junior high English and social studies in Indianapolis, Indiana. After receiving her master's in library science from Indiana University, she has been the school librarian at Avon High School for several years. She recently was awarded the Outstanding Media Specialist of the Year by the Indiana Library Federation. She's also been the president of the Association for Indiana Media Educators. She has done a lot of work in digital learning and also participated with us last year and has a lot to share. I want to start today by sharing with you an experience that I had just yesterday. I had a chance to go to the North Carolina Governor's Mansion with Governor Perdue, in which they awarded 10 different schools or districts North Carolina Innovators in Digital Learning Awards. I want to share this with you because it was a very, very positive event. And you could sit there and listen to the descriptions and learn about the different places and just be amazed at what was happening and the results that they were getting with students and with teachers. I know so often we hear about all the challenges that schools and the education system is facing. Often in the news it isn't very positive, and we're facing dropout rates that are too high and tight budgets. We also hear about all the challenges that ultimately should be good for education but are still very, very hard. Things like the new Common Core state standards, online assessments, or the teacher certifications. We know that ultimately these are good, but we also know that schools have a lot to do to implement them. So the experience yesterday at the Governor's Mansion in some ways reminds me of the potential for Digital Learning Day. Because even though there are these challenges, we know that every single day many wonderful things are happening in classrooms and in learning environments around this country. And so today I want to share with you something that you can do in your school or in your district to help to celebrate the good things that are happening. Digital Learning Day is an event that the Alliance for Excellent Education implemented last year for the first time. It was a nationwide celebration of innovative teaching and learning, and it was a way for us to really highlight the good things that are happening. What I want to make sure you know is that this is a way for us to go ahead and demonstrate how we're engaging students with personalizing learning and with other things that really can make a difference. Digital Learning Day is meant to be a positive celebration. Last year, we found out that we had over 2 million students participate, 20,000 teachers, and 25 member organizations like the Libraries Association, like AASA, and others that many of you belong to. We are finding that these groups, along with 39 states last year and increasing to 40 states this year, are being able to help us to spread the word about Digital Learning Day. Now, it's important to note that when the Alliance for Excellent Education, which is the host of this day, talks about digital learning, what they mean is that a very broad definition. It includes all the different ways and instructional practices that effectively use technology to strengthen the student learning experience. This includes blended learning, online learning, how do we help teachers learn more, how do we make sure that students can collaborate and teachers can collaborate, how do we use data effectively. All of these different things come into play. So I've given you a quick snapshot of Digital Learning Day, and after we hear from some of our other speakers, I will share more with you. But first I want to go ahead and get a little bit of insight from folks who were in the districts around the country who helped us celebrate Digital Learning Day last year and will do so again this year. Now I'm going to ask Ann and Kim to share some of their experience first. Because ultimately, we do hope that Digital Learning Day will be every day in schools across the country. Klein ISD is actually one of these places where that's probably already the case. I wonder, Ann and Kim, if you could share with us what effective digital learning in action looks like in your schools.
Thank you, Mary Ann. It's a real pleasure to be with you and with everyone on this webinar today. I would say to you that the number one thing that you see immediately when you start using digital learning effectively is truly the high level of engagement among all of our students. You know, there's really no question that digital is truly a student's native language, and it really is the environment in which they are most comfortable. Beyond that, when you start looking at it from the instructional goals, what you begin to see is the power that technology can bring really for learning, for things like personalization, for differentiation, collaboration, and truly a wide variety of skill sets. And what we are finding as we continue to grow our curriculum area and adapt it to meet our current needs, whether that's adding college and career readiness standards or embedding those 21st century skills into our curriculum, digital is just essential. You cannot do it without it. I want to let the participants on the webinar know that we have included some video links that will be available for them in the archived version to check out and really see firsthand what this digital learning looks like in a number of our classroom environments in Klein. But I am going to turn it over to Kim right now and have her describe for you what is going on in her class this very week with digital learning.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. We wanted our students to celebrate Digital Learning Day this year, so they are currently working on a 4-part video series called A Day in the Life of a Technology-Driven Student. We wanted them to really focus on how technology is helping them. So they looked at some things like student productivity, organizational skills, ownership of their education, and the success that the students are having, and how that has changed and improved with the use of educational technology. The great thing about this project is that not only are they discovering how technology enhance their education, but they are also using that same technology to share their story with others. As they work through this project, they are using a webcam to interview Klein ISD graduates who are currently attending major universities to find out how technology that they had available to them in Klein has better prepared them and maybe even given them an edge over their peers at college. I think that this has been a real eye-opening experience for them, because sometimes we tend to forget how lucky we are that we have the resources that we do, and we don't realize that it's not necessarily the norm yet. A couple of our other groups that are working on this project have been using our research capabilities to compare test score data from 2 of our high schools, from before our students were given the tablet PCs to what the scores look like since then. And our students here use their tablet PCs every day when they go to their classes to enhance the lessons that they're doing. And this project has given the students a chance to see the results of that hard work, and that the technology that we're giving them isn't just some fun gadget that Klein has given them to play with, and that they really see how it's improved student performance. We also have some groups looking at how technology has helped them with their own productivity and ownership of their education. And they are using things like PowerPoint, Prezi, Photo Story to produce a video presentation. And in February of this year, February 4th, these students are going to take their presentations to Austin, Texas, and deliver them to legislature members at the Texas Capitol Schoolhouse. This is just one of the examples of projects that my students are working on, but the resources that they're using in this project, like the tablet PCs, webcams, research databases, the movie makers, the online discussion forums that they're using, and the student share capabilities, are resources that our kids use on a daily basis.
Thanks, Kim. And I realize that digital learning is not new to Klein, and you already have learned so much in just sharing the kinds of outcomes you're seeing and the fact that your students are capable of producing the kinds of things you're describing, but also just the ownership that they have. It's fascinating. And I'm wondering if you, Anne, can help describe some of the important components that have been critical to the growth of digital learning in Klein, but also the sustainability of it, because I think that's a really interesting point when you look at how much you all have done over the years.
Well, Kim, clearly the driver for those of us who are in the learning business has to be learning. And one of the things that we constantly come back to, even with our infatuation with technology, is the fact that we are truly in the learning business, not the technology business. So if we keep our focus on the learning and then look at how technology supports those learning objectives, that pretty much keeps us on track. But to get the process going and to keep it moving, there is no question that visionary leadership from the very top level has to be there, and we have been very fortunate with that. In fact, our current superintendent was our first technology director in the district in the mid-'80s, so his vision has really helped to sustain us through this process. You also have to have that support at your school board level, and it is very important that they be highly involved in the process from the beginning and continuing to carry and lead that through, because the school board is your connection to the community, and that community support is critical. And for many people, this method of doing teaching and learning is very different than what they experienced when they were in school. So we talk often about the fact that there are a lot of audiences that we have to educate beyond just simply our students, and we really work on that through this whole environment to keep them involved and to help them understand why we're doing what we're doing and how it works for them and for their students. Then I think we talk a lot in education about having high expectations for students, and that is critical. But if you're going to make this transformation in the way you do teaching and learning in a classroom, you have to have high expectations for your teachers as well. And with that has to also come a strong level of support, which comes in the form of professional development. But I often tell people that as critical as we central office staff might be in this process, to me, the most important person in transforming teaching and learning on any campus is the building principal. And the building principal, through that leadership, sets those high expectations, maps out the plans for professional development in collaboration with the teachers so that they can achieve the goals that they want to do. We have really made an effort in the district, just as we talk about personalizing learning for students, to truly personalize professional development for our teachers, so that we are reaching them where they are at the time that they need it with the skill set that they need to have. Now, along with personalization, however, we also have to, in a district our size, and we're at 47,000 students and 40 campuses now, standardization is one of the keys to our success as well. And one of the challenges with technology is that there is always the latest and greatest thing out there every other week. And as an enterprise district, you have to settle on what you're going, commit to that, and make it work, and then make those adaptations and changes along the way as they are feasible. At our one-to-one schools, where we currently have 5 campuses with about 12,000 students who have all been issued tablet PCs, we again make the commitment to be sure that it is working every day. We have an on-site technical repair center at those schools because our expectation is that students are using their technology every day, every period, and they really cannot be without it. And then finally, to the point that you were making earlier, Marianne, you have to have a plan for replacement, for updating the technology, and for continuing to move it through, because the worst thing you could do is to start out, have it be a great success, and then not have a plan in place to continue to move that along. So it is a critical part of our strategic plan in our district. It is a part of our bond referendum plans. It is embedded into everything that we do as we look to long-range planning as well as immediate planning in the district.
Thank you, Ann, so much, and I think folks can quickly understand just how much thought and experience you all bring to this, and why we tapped into you very early last year when we were kicking off the first Digital Learning Day, and continue to draw on your expertise. I'm wondering, Kim, if I can ask you about if you have some particular things that you might recommend to a district, a school, or a teacher who wants to celebrate Digital Learning Day. Because we often get the question, well, what should I do? What does that mean? And I'm wondering whether it's a veteran teacher or perhaps someone just beginning down this path, if you have some recommendations for them.
That's a good question, and I think where you are in technology, either you're a veteran to it or you're just brand new into educational technology, there are so many resources available on the web. And one that I use constantly is the Digital Learning Day website. They've got some great toolkits and lessons that are already created. So I would say that if you're brand new and you have no idea where to start, maybe a good way to celebrate Digital Learning Day is to sign up. Log in, get yourself signed up, and browse through some of the ideas that other people are doing. You may not have the capabilities to do everything, but I'm sure you could find just one piece of one lesson that you could start to incorporate. And then for veteran teachers, for myself, I've been using technology for many years now, but I still go back to these resources like the Digital Learning Day website, because even though I've been using it for a while, teaching is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing, and we're constantly trying to find new ways to reach the students. And so that's a good place to go for fresh ideas and to get something different, kind of shake it up in the classroom.
You know, Marianne, one of the things I would add as well for people to think about doing, and I agree with Kim, I think the DLD website is a tremendous resource. But for a district, for example, that may not have much, if any, technology in place right now, One project would be to ask students to go out and interview people in their community and ask them about the impact of technology in their work life and in their personal life, and report back, because I think what that does is give a good start to the conversation in the district about why technology is so important. A couple of ideas that we're beginning to generate from our own district right now. One of our elementary schools has decided that on Digital Learning Day they are going to go 100% paperless for the entire day and use whatever digital resources they have to not be working in print media at all for one day. Another one of our schools is setting up at our intermediate school, which is a school of about 1,200 students. One of the strategies that we use technology and digital learning for is to move away from whole group instruction and to have a lot of small group instruction going on. And so at this particular school, for Digital Learning Day, every classroom will be grouped in small group instruction. Again, accessing the digital resources that they have, but even non-digital resources, but to leverage the technology to allow the teachers to be able to do that personalized small group instruction for an entire day. So they're coming up with a lot of creative ways that they're going to participate this year as well.
Thank you, Ann and Kim. Those are terrific ideas, and we'll continue to build on those to share with others across the country. You know, when I mentioned getting to go to the governor's mansion yesterday to see these schools receive these awards, one of the things very nice about that is that they were being recognized for what they did, just as you all were on Digital Learning Day, just for your excellent work. But the other wonderful benefit of this is the ability to share with others what's possible. And so I know last year, you know, we were able to highlight you all for Digital Learning Day, and you also hosted a site visit for the National School Boards Association. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about how working with other district leaders has expanded your work in digital learning.
Yes, well, as you mentioned at the beginning, I was lucky enough to be part of the educators group last year for the Digital Learning Day. And even though I'm in Texas, it put me in touch with some amazing people across the country, like Kentucky and New Jersey. And I really enjoyed being able to bounce ideas off others and from around the country, because people have such different ideas and different perspectives. And sometimes it's nice to step out of our box and into somebody else's every once in a while. It also helps to know that we aren't alone in this. And even if you are brand new to technology, there's a place you can go for help. In fact, last year, my 9th grade English class and I were privileged enough to be able to participate in the live town hall meeting during the Digital Learning Day itself. And we were able to share how our class functioned with technology. And I followed that up by writing a blog for the website about the learning stations that we used, specifically for a lesson that we did with the Odyssey. And shortly after we published the blog, I received an email from a teacher in New Jersey who was interested in more information on the lesson. And through email, I was able to help her through the process of how to set it up and how the lesson works. And now she uses that same lesson in her class. Without the technology and the collaboration, sharing across state lines like that would be nearly impossible.
And Mary Ann, yes, as far as the National School Board Association site visit last year, it was a tremendous opportunity and a wonderful honor for us to be able to host the visit with nearly 200 visitors here in the district over a 3-day period. One of the things that we get out of that, and I would encourage anyone to either participate in a site visit or ultimately host one themselves, because what you get out of that is a wonderful opportunity to share ideas and collaborate with others as they are seeing firsthand in classrooms with real live students and teachers what's going on and how that works. The other benefit, and we have seen that not only through the National School Board visit, but in fact we had 2 districts visiting our district just yesterday at 3 of our different schools. And what we are learning is that when we have visitors come to us, it really gives us a chance to look at ourselves through the eyes of others and get a much clearer perspective on the work we are doing. Sometimes you get so involved in the day-to-day that you sort of lose sight of that bigger view, and so that really helps. And I have to tell you and thank you and the whole Alliance group, because since our participation in last year's Digital Learning Day, we've been able to use the Digital Learning Day website for a lot of the work that we do, both for professional development within the district, at conference presentations and other venues where we have been invited to tell Klein's story. And DLD certainly gave us a mechanism for doing that in a way that I don't think we could have done on our own. So I thank you again for that opportunity. And once again, in the archived version, there is a link to some other information about the National School Board Association site visit and some of the videos and activities that went on there if your audience would like to take a look at that later.
Thank you, Anne. And I think you actually bring up a great opportunity for those on this call or the webinar and those that get to watch it later, in that if you have a great story to share, please let us know. There are several vehicles on the website, or you can always email me. I'll put my name in the chat in a moment. Because what we want to be able to do is draw attention to places and people who are doing great things. So we love highlighting you and really appreciate that. Before I start to ask Robin a few questions, because we want to hear her perspective too, I did want to make sure, one of the things you mentioned to me was the fact that your district participated heavily in Project Tomorrow's Speak Up survey. I wonder if you want to share a little bit about how that's really helped you as well over the years, because I feel like we're kind of painting a picture of many of the different things that have contributed to what you've been able to offer your students.
Yes, we have always viewed participation in Speak Up as a great opportunity for our students, our parents, our community, and we are in the midst of that process right now. Our various schools are participating and will conclude by the December 21 deadline. One of the reasons, and you see that on the screen as well, we really view this as an opportunity for our student voices to be heard, because the data from Speak Up is used in so many different forums, including testimony before Congress, before state legislatures, before various education committees. And so one of the things that we tell our students is that if you want to tell the policymakers what you think about digital learning, about having technology in your classroom, this is a great venue to do that. And they have it set up in such a way that students can respond individually, and for our very young students, K-2, you can do a group response. So they've thought this process through really well. We just think that having our student voices represented is really important to them, and it is very important to us as well. But beyond that, we really use the data that is then generated through the Speak Up survey, first of all, to measure our own progress against what is going on nationally and other initiatives. And then our individual schools use their data within the Speak Up survey to map out their own plans for moving forward, particularly around the area of professional development. So we analyze that every year and take it forward. So again, that's another thing. I appreciate the opportunity to mention it and would encourage any of the participants to take a look at the Project Tomorrow Speak Up survey. A lot of good data and helpful information there.
Thank you, Anne. And now we're going to switch gears from Texas and move on to Indiana. And Robin, I think you have a really interesting perspective on digital learning as a librarian. And I've had the chance to present with you and hear some tremendous ideas on how you've really helped others in your school develop. I wonder if you could share a little bit more about how you've worked with the teachers and the principal at your school to foster digital learning.
Thanks, Marianne. I'd love to talk about that. With digital learning, first of all, I want to talk about what my school looks like, just so we kind of know where we're coming from. I have a high school of about 2,700 students. I do have 2 libraries within our building. We have 2 separate areas. We have an advanced learning center that is primarily for our students, our advanced learning juniors and seniors who are taking courses in AP or in our regular senior level classes. They do have a one-to-one initiative there where all students are required to bring and use their laptops. I then have a separate library within the same building that is for our underclassmen. So it's a unique perspective because we have a very digital-rich technology area, and then we have a more traditional setup in our lower grades. And so because of that, each portion of our training with our teachers and working with our teachers is a little bit different. I am a teacher, and I hope that the people that are listening here do utilize their librarians and know that they are teachers and that they should be working in collaboration with the classroom teachers. And so that's my role. I try and become an expert in the technology so that the teachers who are becoming an expert in their content areas and an expert in their teaching methodology don't have to worry as much about the technological aspect of it. So that lets me go into the classroom, work with the teachers, work with the students, create lessons and units that will allow our students to access that technology, and then be there as a resource person for the teachers if they don't feel comfortable enough to participate in the event with the students. Usually what happens, and what's really exciting about that, is that after a class or two of me working with the students, the teachers feel very comfortable in taking over what's going on in the classroom. And so that's kind of my favorite part of that, is that while I initially do a lot of the teaching, it ends up transferring over, and then those teachers individually talk about, hey, we did this great project, you should give it a try, because again, having two teachers in the classroom makes them very comfortable, and it's not a threatening situation when you're trying to incorporate that technology. Additionally, there's always somebody there to help if something goes wrong. So if they do feel comfortable implementing whatever that technology is, if something does happen and they're not comfortable troubleshooting, I'm there to troubleshoot as well. So it's been a really good relationship. I work with a lot of teachers in our school. We have about 150 teachers, and it makes it a really exciting place to be. Another aspect that I do is I do a lot of professional development sessions. So as a matter of fact, we had one just today where teachers signed up for different sessions, and mine was on using Poll Everywhere as a way for checking for understanding in the classroom. And so we have small groups where I'm working with those teachers, and we discuss very specifically, how could you utilize this technology today? How can I support you in utilizing this technology? And again, it's just that support system. Like Ann mentioned earlier, having that support is important, and I'm that support person for our school.
Thank you, Robin, and that's really helpful, I think, just to get a sense of what you do. And as I look across the country and work with different districts and schools, I often find that the places that are being very successful in this are utilizing the librarian role as that coach or as that co-teacher or as a instructional technology person. And so I'm wondering if you have recommendations for other schools or districts to ensure that librarians can share that expertise the way that you are, or have the opportunity to share their ideas with teachers.
Sure. As I've mentioned, I hear from so many school districts who say, well, my librarian checks out books, or my librarian reads to the classes. And that's a very important part of being a librarian, especially for our younger students. But in our digital world today, we've got to really step that up and be a teacher of technology, of our digital learning skills, and that is really important. So I would talk to principals and administrators and say, it's necessary for that librarian to be a part of this process. And that if they're not doing that and they are checking out books and reading stories, that is a function that could be done by another person, so that you are using that leadership skills of the librarian and the technological skills. All librarians have been trained in inquiry, and that inquiry process right now, especially as we're looking at digital resources and all of the information that is coming our way, that we've got to help our students navigate all of that information. And so really, as schools and districts really need to ask their librarians to be a part of this process. And as I stated earlier, that professional development component. It's a unique perspective to be able to go into a lot of different classrooms. I work with so many different teachers, from health teachers to social studies teachers to English teachers. And by the way, that was just today that I worked with those different classes. But it makes it really an important part of seeing what's happening in the schools, being a part of that professional development so that you can teach teachers at their point of need. If we're just doing general pieces of information on technology and not being specific to our teachers, it's probably not going to help people very much. But that being specific with what the teachers need, as I said today, talking about Poll Everywhere and asking teachers how they would apply it and then helping them actually apply that in their classroom really does provide that support system. And then too, we act as an instructional coach. And we do have a wonderful instructional coach and technology integrators within our schools as well. And so absolutely we work together and utilize all of those areas. And again, a librarian is a teacher, so that aspect of acting as an instructional coach, creating good lesson plans with good inquiry and good use of digital technology is a real key component. And often, you know, our teachers, our classroom teachers are just so busy. We're all just so swamped with everything that's happening and all of the changes that are going on. So just having that person there to say, hey, I can help you with this. And that's just a really great thing. My principals have been wonderful in that they have allowed me to be part of technology committees and curriculum committees so that I can infuse part of that digital learning in everything that we do.
Thank you, Robin. And I know last year we really appreciated having you as part of the educator working group along with Kim and others across the country. And you know, I really appreciated your approach to Digital Learning Day last year, and I think it's another great opportunity, just as we heard from Klein, to kind of hear about how somebody like you, who's very experienced in this, is thinking about celebrating Digital Learning Day and how you helped others at your school celebrate it last year.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I've already written down a lot of things to do for this year just based upon the earlier conversation. So, Klein, it sounds like they're doing just some wonderful, wonderful things that I have already written down. Last year's event was really unique because I'm not sure that everyone knew what to expect of that. And so everyone had their own take on it, which was a really great perspective to get from everyone. One of the things that I had going was the events that were happening from Digital Learning Day and the events that were in Washington, the town hall meeting. I streamed all of the events, and then I invited our teachers that as they had their prep periods or had time throughout the day, if they could stop in and see what was going on and participate in the conversations that were occurring. And I had quite a few people who took me up on that. Many ate lunch with me. I asked them to bring their lunch in. I also had students who would come in throughout the day and just see what was going on, and that was a wonderful thing too. So we had our students participating and we had our teachers participating in that. With our technology integrator, I also we did a student web conference. So we had some of our influential seniors who were willing to participate with us. We're there to answer questions of our 8th graders, and we created a web conference, and you can see our picture of our seniors there. And our 8th graders getting ready to come into high school, who are a little nervous about that prospect, asked questions of our seniors, and our seniors were very honest and open with what happened, that, you know, the questions that were answered, and really gave some good feedback. It also enabled us to use a different form of technology. That was a first-time experience of me using that kind of web conferencing equipment, and that was a really interesting way. And recently when we had a teacher who wanted to do some more web conferencing, I felt very confident in giving her that information about how to go about setting up a web conference, so that was very helpful. That day we also had a digital DNA session. So it was for teachers and students who wanted to know a little bit more about the footprint we leave behind, and we did some searches on a variety of different web tools that we have available where you can find information out about what's out there about you. What can people see on your Facebook? What can people see that you're tweeting? What images are you? Even just a simple Google image search of yourself. The students were shocked that there's so much out there about themselves that they had just never imagined, because every tweet that they do is out there for people. So that was interesting, and what was fun about that is that some of the teachers that came in for that digital DNA session actually asked me to do that with our seniors as part of the regular curriculum this year. And so all of our seniors had that digital DNA session. And it's a great example of how we can just take something that we tried once for Digital Learning Day, and it morphed into something that we're now planning on doing every year. And that was a great experience. The other thing I did was invite teachers who I knew were using technology in some way to use that technology during the day, and then we opened up their rooms to other people. So other teachers came into their rooms throughout the day just to see what they were doing, how they were utilizing the technology, and that seemed to work very well as well.
Thank you, Robin. And you've already given us so many great suggestions for what folks can do and just very tangible things that are possible to replicate. I know last year you had developed a flyer that you shared, and it is available on the Digital Learning Day website, but it's something that I often referred back to because it really gave folks, whether you're towards the beginning of this or more veteran, ideas on what you could do. I know you've given us a lot of ideas already, but I think you had a couple more things you wanted to mention to a district or a school maybe celebrating for the first time and what they could offer or how they could participate in Digital Learning Day.
Well, the concept of Digital Learning Day can be so immense that I ask people to just try one new thing. On that Digital Learning Day, just one thing that you haven't done before. It could be utilizing a new website and a lesson plan. It could be using some Web 2.0 interactive technology. But just try one new thing and ask the librarian or ask your tech integrator or instructional coach to be a part of that so that you've got the support that you need. But if you say one new thing, that's not worrisome, just to try one new thing. So that's what I would recommend. The other thing that I've done really in the past year is that I've subscribed to a variety of different Twitter feeds. And I find that I am doing an immense amount of digital learning through that, just for myself. Keeps me up to date on different types of technology. And I really started this through our Digital Learning Day and the hashtag of DLD. And that's where it started. I was like, oh, I had a Twitter account for a long time, but just never used it for that professional development aspect of it. And I find now that that is primarily how I get my professional development. It's part of my professional learning network, and I just have really enjoyed it. Plus, you know, it's 140 characters at a time, so it's not really threatening and makes it really easy for us to just find that one new thing that we can do.
Thank you, Robin. Those are great suggestions and something, I think, for everybody. And we had a question come in from Indiana as well, asking about are there schools and districts joining in on statewide activities. And I think we're going to see a really big pickup on that this year. Last year we had some states that really led this, Indiana actually being one of them, along with Wisconsin. Wisconsin had their whole own day and had folks do many things there too. So what I would recommend is that if you're interested in joining in on your state, we're asking the states to post things that they're offering on the Digital Learning Day site, but we also can connect you with folks in your state departments of ed or other organizations that are helping. So I think I love that suggestion, and we encourage you to really reach out and see. I just want to share with you a few things from the Alliance's perspective that you can do. The first thing, obviously, is sign up. Once you register on digitallearningday.org, you will get information. It's not overly taxing or anything. It's quick notes, quick emails, but things that you can do, things that you can share. And everyone really is welcome. We see this as a place for partners and for business leaders and for parents and for kids and for teachers and others that just care about education. So I really do encourage you to sign up. We also, as both Robin and Kim and Ann all mentioned, we've put a lot from educators around the country on the Digital Learning Day website. So there are showcases. You can go see the video of Kim Sharp teaching that Odyssey lesson and many others, but you also have a chance to tap into lesson plans and other tools that folks recommend. So I highly recommend you visiting that and kind of exploring. We've tried to keep it in very manageable chunks, but we also want to give folks some insight into things that are possible and to keep that current. So the other side of that is please feel free to email me ideas for the toolkit. We'd love to continue to grow it and keep it very fresh. There are a lot of different ways to participate. You can start the conversation. You've heard great examples today. If you're in a professional learning community, you can go there. If you have a school board meeting coming up, I think a PTA meeting is a tremendous opportunity to showcase great things that are happening at your school, if that's a possibility. We've also seen showcases at the state capitol, at the at the district office. We also just try something new, as folks have already said. And again, if you're a veteran and you've been doing this and you feel like you fit in with what they're doing in Klein ISD and what they're doing in Avon, Indiana, and you have some great examples, please share those with us. We will be having monthly webinars. There are opportunities to submit a blog post. And on February 6, 2013, we will be having another town hall meeting. An exciting addition that I haven't even had a chance to share with Ann and Kim and Robin is that we will also be launching some lesson plans that folks can go ahead and implement in their classrooms that day. So there are many things coming, and we encourage you to sign up so that you get all the current information. We really appreciate our core partners. Many of you work with them already. And so please tap into that. Several of them are hosting their own or joining with us for that day. And again, it's February 6, 2013. It is a great day. As I go back to that experience yesterday in North Carolina, this is a way you can really showcase and celebrate the great things that are happening in your schools and in your district. And so thank you so much for being here today. And I want to go ahead and turn it back over to Bobby. And again, this will be available for folks to share with others. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann, and thank you, Ann, and thank you, Ken, and thank you, Robin. This was a very engaging and very informative session today with some fantastic ideas, and we do encourage those of you who participated today to share this resource with others, the archive of this resource, which will be posted on the EPIC-Ed website in 48 hours or 2 business days. I'm going to ask Ann, if you would. Ann, I'm going to make a few closing remarks, and while I'm doing so, Ann had mentioned earlier in our session today a video, and I'm going to ask Ann if you would go ahead and put the URL for that video in the chat window. Additionally, we will place that URL and a couple of other URLs just beneath the video itself on the EPIC-Ed Community's YouTube channel. And so this video will be housed there, and directly underneath is where we'll place additional resources for you. I want to draw your attention to a cool resource that we launched this week on EPIC-Ed. It's our School District Profile Locator that allows a school or a district to share information about their technology innovation, to put that information on a map so that you can then network and identify, for example, other schools or districts around the nation who have similar implementations. You see the URL for that is epiced.org/epic-schools, or just go to the home page and you can easily locate that from the home page of the site. Again, I'd ask everyone to join me in a virtual round of applause and thank Dr. Mary Ann Wolf and her colleagues at the Alliance for Excellent Education and the fantastic work that they are doing throughout the year to prepare for Digital Learning Day. I'm sure that she would agree with me that while we celebrate Digital Learning Day on February the 6th, every day in our schools can be a day in which we elevate and we think differently about learning through the use of digital tools and resources. So again, thanks again to Mary Ann, thanks to Ann, Robin, and to Kim, and we thank you all for joining us today in this EPIC-Ed web conference.